All right, everybody, we are back. Chris, we just got off the phone with our buddy Polly for a little NBA preview, which will be on later in the show. Uh, but now we get down to our business. Another Sunday,
Let's get
the
down. Let's
NFL.
get down to business.
Mhm.
Sorry.
I love it. Great song. Um, it was an interesting week 7. You were just telling me how unhappy you are, Chris. I know it was a rough fantasy day for you. I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh no, it was an incredible fantasy week. I just slapped some goose eggs on the board. I would have won otherwise, and I'm upset. I'm tied myself at the Beacon Robinson thing. Hunter Henry is a ghost. He just bye. And
Same.
yeah, and started Jameson Williams like a dumbass because Kareem Hunt was a true game time decision, and that's disappointing because peppered in there was Jackson Smith and Jigba's first NFL touchdown.
Yeah.
Michael Thomas hits double digits again as a my wide receiver 2. Lamar Jackson balls out. Alvin Kamara was incredible on Thursday, and I'm gonna fricking lose. So I'm a little upset. I'm a
I
little
mean,
upset.
you got to be better eventually at some point.
Thanks. My picks were pretty crappy too, but I think there was a call in there that made the Rams lose that really chapped my ass. So
Yeah, that one screwed us both over, and that
yeah.
was the game that pissed me off the most today. Uh, the Rams had no business losing that game. I don't know if you want to start there because
Yeah, let's start there. Why the heck not?
why not? Steelers 24, Rams 17. Steelers had no business winning this game. This was the Rams game. They're the better team. I You know what I get frustrated if I'm rooting or betting on an LA team and they're at home and they're not home. They don't have a home field advantage. They are basically the visiting team every game. And it's tough and it hurts the Chargers a lot. And I think it hurt the Rams today. There were a ton it was like 80% Steelers fans there. That killed any momentum that you could really get in that game. Um it was rough. I thought it was going to be an easy win. It was not the case. There was a controversial call, the fourth down call. So Pickett, this was
He didn't get
Steelers were up, right? Yeah, yeah. Steelers were up. This was to get the first down, and I basically iced the game. Pickett looks short pretty clearly. However, they called him. Yeah, well, they brought the sticks out. Uh, I don't. He looked short. I don't know, and it was not reviewable, and that was, I think, the biggest issue.
yeah, that's
Now,
some
was
shit.
it not reviewable because they didn't have a challenge, or was it not reviewable just because that's one of the NFL's dumbass rules?
Dude, don't even open that Pandora's box on the NFL rules with me. But yeah, VAR to see if a goal goes in soccer. Why can't we put a microchip in the NFL football and see if this guy got an actual first down because he did not? And of course, Mike Tomlin is going to go above 500 now again this year with a shit team. And I'm just kind of pissed because, like you said, the Rams, like, they're a better team. They're now very deep at wide receiver all of a sudden. They finally have a good running game, and Stafford's great, but you can't throw it to a defensive lineman, T.J. Watt, and then think that you're going to be like a great. He just threw that one inopportune pick, but it's also to the point where you can't let the refs decide the game, and you can't be down in that situation. They never should have been, but I'm a little chapped about that. That call. It's a little in this day and age silly that was made, and I think it was completely incorrect, and I think 99% of America would say that he didn't get that call. So I
Yeah.
lied. There might be like 2% of Pittsburgh Steelers fans. They have a
Well, yeah.
giant
I mean, I'm
base
sure
fan base that showed out. So yeah, but yeah, a little
it's this.
disappointed in that.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and so the Rams were out of timeout, so they couldn't challenge the spot. But also because it occurred before the 2-minute warning, it wasn't eligible for an automatic review by the booth. I don't really get it. I don't understand these
Dumb
rules, these
rule,
little
NFL.
nuances. Just get the call right. Do everything in
That's
your
it.
power to get the call right. And these chains, Look, the classic football fan in me loves the change. Bring out the chains.
Hell
But
yeah.
it's great. But like you said, I mean, there's no reason you can't have a chip in the ball or something. Like, get these calls right. It's deciding games. You've got people um, betting a lot of money on these NFL games
Yeah.
going around. Like, it needs to be
Like me.
correct. Yeah, yeah, like all of us.
Yeah.
It's problematic.
I don't know what a
Waiting for
catch is,
wins
and I don't
here.
know what a first down is anymore, though. So
No,
let's
we
give
don't.
Goodell $300 million again.
We know nothing now. We have no
I know.
idea what it is. But I mean, the
No.
Rams look really good. I mean,
Yeah.
they have two with Cup healthy, and Puka Nakua just looks unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just came out of nowhere to be an absolute stud. And
Right.
Stafford's playing really well. The defense is decent, but to let the Steelers score 24 points today, Steelers offense isn't really anything to write home about. But here you go, Mike Tomlin,
Gosh.
Steelers 4-2.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yeah.
4-2. How does it keep happening?
Absolutely incredible. I have no idea. It could be scheduling. It could be Mike Tomlin. I don't know. But you know what? At the end of the day, I don't know that they did enough to win that game. I think the Rams did enough to lose that game.
I think that's what it came down to, and then that call just sealed it.
Yeah.
Unfortunate loss for us. Unfortunate loss for the
Move
Rams.
on from that shit.
Move on. We both went 1-2 today. One of the losses for both of us was the Rams. We had a couple other picks. One of your picks was the Bucks, and they lost to the Falcons. Falcons 16, Buccaneers 13. I think the under in this game was 32, and it looks like the under hit. The over under was 32, and it actually hit. Like, what a game! This was oh shit show back and forth. I know you took the Bucks.
Yeah.
I did not take the Falcons in our picks, but I did bet on the Falcons. I took them plus 2.5, and it was so frustrating. Desmond Ritter fumbled the ball 3 times. One, just a dumb play going into the end zone, not protecting the ball, slowing up, and he got caught from behind, and that resulted in a touchback. So you took 6 points off the board, and you gave the other team the ball. They're lucky to have won this game with that, and also this random Bijan Robinson illness that came out of nowhere. There was no word about this. All of a sudden, Bijan's just not getting any touches. I mean, in 2023 in the NFL, this shouldn't be allowed to happen. Like, there's too much on the line here. People need to know if a guy's going to be playing, and there's probably some gamesmanship to it. But there's no way that Arthur Smith and the Falcons were expecting Bijan to be a workhorse, and then all of a sudden the game started. Like, oh, he's not feeling well. Something happened at
He
some
was
point.
hungover. That's my guess.
I sure hope not, because
Flu-like symptoms. Yeah. No. I honestly, dude, I was so pissed. This affected both of our fantasy teams. This affected my pick. I took well, it didn't really affect my pick. It actually
if
made my
anything,
pick come close. I just realized what I said there.
yeah,
But like I thought, I think, and I still think Tampa has all the talent in the world to win any game on any given weekend. I really do. I mean, Mike Evans scores a touchdown, gets 80 yards, 6 catches. Like, that's a stat line that I'm looking for from the Bucks. Like, you get Baker Mayfield to throw 40 times. I think it's the fact that they have no fucking running game now. I think they have absolutely no
right.
running game without playoff Lenny, and you could beard that with a Tom Brady offense, but you can't do that with a Baker Mayfield offense. He needs play action because you don't roll out Baker Mayfield without a little bit of a bite from the linebackers. He doesn't get receivers open past the linebackers as much as Tom Brady would because they're not that scared of him. So at the end of the day, I'm really, I didn't see this game live, but from what you had told me and what you had texted me, I was like, this doesn't seem like it was more of a game that should have been decided by a field goal here. I think that the Falcons should have won this big. And it's disappointing that they didn't, but my pick was the Buccaneers because of just talent. I just think they have the talent. I don't believe in Ritter, and you can see why. And I don't believe in Arthur Smith, and I think you can see why as well. Falcons win. They're 4-3. That's incredible to me. I think they're not a great team. I was expecting them to lean on Bijan the entire season for a million touches, one after the other, catching running, whatever, and it's he gets one carry and then just shuts himself down. So kudos to you for winning that bet because you were pretty pumped when you did with the young Hui field goal. But yeah, this I thought was the complete lock. Buccaneers at home.
Yeah,
Wrongo.
wrongo. All right, let's keep it rolling. Here was one of your winners. Very impressive one. Bears 30, Raiders 12. Very nice call here.
I
Tyson
mean,
Badgett?
impressive one. Have you watched the Raiders? It's
No,
not
I
impressive to
mean,
pick against the
look,
Raiders.
that was the thought process, and I was fully with you there. I mean, it was just one of those things where you just see them beat the Patriots, but that's McDaniel's over Belichick, which is weird. That's why NFL's weird. It's like then the Patriots can go and beat the Bills, and it's like you don't know what to believe. It's just any given Sunday. But I mean,
Are
I
you gonna say what to
underestimated.
believe?
Yeah,
I see
I
what you
know.
did there. Kind of.
I totally
No,
know
dude,
what
I
you meant.
did. I hear you. Nick Saban didn't. He went years without losing to one of his assistants. Belichick loses to him all the time.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
tough, but in their division, he's not gonna. It's gonna be tough to beat him.
Right. So, my thought process here was Chicago.
Raiders suck.
Yeah, basically the Raiders suck. Chicago needed a win. It doesn't look like Field played. They relied on everybody else there. So at the end of the day, this is a little bit of a shot in the dark, but it was backup quarterback against backup quarterback, and at the end of the day, the Chicago, I think, rushing game is what put him over the edge. Dante Foreman with 2 touchdowns, and Bears have a decent defense. Nobody gives them credit for that, and
Foreman had three touchdowns, one through the air. I mean, he had one hell of a fantasy day on a lot of people's benches.
there you go. Yeah, exactly. Not a starter you would think, but at the end of the day, it's more about the Raiders just being terrible, and I don't believe in Josh McDaniels nowhere, no matter
Nobody
where he
does.
goes. I wouldn't even hire him as an offensive coordinator anymore. But I don't even know if the guy's ever coached in college, but he should definitely not be in the pros.
Well,
In my
well,
in
he,
my
he could
opinion.
he could either come back and be the offensive coordinator of the Patriots again, or he could leave football. That's pretty much the only two scenarios.
No, Bill O'Brien's over there being rehabilitated. They can't rehabilitate another one unless McDaniels wants to be the quarterback's coach, which I don't know if that's
That
helping Mac
might be
Jones at all. So, yeah.
that's not helping
This-
Mac Jones either, but that might be McDaniel's
no,
only path to staying in the league.
right. So, yeah, I feel bad for Josh Jacobs. I think he's a great player. I feel bad for
11
Devontae
carries.
Adams. Great player.
11 carries. I mean, I know they fell, they were down 14-3. Then it was 21-3. Couldn't really run the ball, but, you know, trying to come back with Brian Hoyer ain't going to work. So no
Right.
disrespect to Brian Hoyer. It's, been a nice
Love Hoyer.
backup in the league for a while now. But if you had any hope of winning this game, you were going to do it pounding the ball with Jacobs. And you had to get Devontae Adams going, but with Hoyer there, and then they switched to O'Connell, and he looked, well, I don't know, a little better. But 3 picks between the two of them, it's a bad coach team. They have some studs on the offense, and that's really it. It's really all they got going there.
This was kind of my throw-in game, to be honest with you. I was looking at some other games, but this is a close spread, so I figured it was a pick 'em. Bears needed a win. Bears at home. Bears win.
Yeah.
Not all I have to say about this game. It was pretty garbage.
Speaking of another garbage game, this was one of my losses. Broncos 19, Packers 17. Ugh, just disgusting. I mean, the Broncos are so bad. They're so bad. They're another team that has no business winning any games. But I was like, the Packers. It's they can't lose again to the Broncos. Like Love's got to look a little better, but no, it didn't look better at all. They have some issues. They have a lot of issues, and I'm not going to say it's all on Jordan Love here, but they're running the ball with AJ Dillon. more than Aaron Jones. I don't know if Jones is still dealing with injury. He is
No,
on,
they're just trying to force AJ Dillon. They're trying to force it, and the guy's just a plodding, lame run. He's a bigger back. Yeah. I bet he's flat-footed or something. Like, ugh.
he doesn't look very good, and the Packers didn't really get anything going uh, offensively. They ran for 137 yards with 29 carries between Dillon, Jones, Love, but your leading receiver was AJ Dillon at 34 yards and 2 catches. You're not going to win games like that. Dobbs, whether it's Watson, Reed, like you got to get one of these receivers into a rhythm and get going. They're not doing anything.
They're just
And Jordan
wasting
Love,
talent in Christian Watson. Just wasting it.
yeah, I mean, you saw how good he looked with Rodgers last year,
So
and now
good.
with Love, it's not happening. And on
Don't
the
love it.
yeah, on the other side, so the Packers are 2-4 now. The Broncos are now 2-5. Javonte Williams had a nice game. Russ looks terrible, but he didn't pick. He didn't throw a pick. Found Courtland Sutton in the end zone. But this was a bad game between what I thought was one really bad team, one of the worst teams in the NFL, and then a team that had some upside. But the Packers might be right down there with some of the worst teams in the NFL. They
Well,
don't look good.
I think you said it right there. It's like if Russell Wilson doesn't turn the ball over, the Broncos could be a 500 team, but he's going to turn the ball over at least 2 times a game, and he didn't do it today, and they won.
Yeah.
Incredible.
But I
But
mean, the thing last year, the Broncos' defense was really good last year. This year, they've been very bad. So you would have thought that Love and the Packers could get something going here. It didn't happen at all. 1917.
right in their defense, they did play. Miami, you Jets, Kansas City, um, then I guess Washington, Las Vegas, and Chicago. So I don't know what case I'm making for the Broncos. Yeah, this was
They're
another.
terrible.
Why did we pick these 2 games? What the hell was wrong with us?
It's the slate was I don't know. It was tough. We're kind of just looking at to pick on bad teams, I think, and that results in watching bad games.
Yeah,
I mean, you have two of the best teams in the league playing right now on Sunday night, so you couldn't really pick on them. I did take the Eagles in the game, and they are winning. The Dolphins have a ton of injuries, but it's close at 17-10 as we speak right now. 10 minutes left in the third. I really hope the Eagles win. They got their Kelly Green on. I think they bounce back. After a loss to the Jets and the Dolphins with all of their injuries. But the Dolphins, I mean, Tua can hit Tyreek in 2 seconds, and you got a 70-yard touchdown. That's already happened tonight. I don't
it
know.
was like a lesser of two evils Sunday night game. It's like I don't want to pick either of these teams. I think it's Tyreek that holds me back from actually liking the Dolphins because he's
Yeah,
just a poor human being.
yeah,
And then Philly just has poor fans. And
yeah.
I
Nick
loved
Sirianni
Sirianni
is
at first. Now he's
he's
just a jerk.
he's a
Became
weirdo.
a jerk. But yeah, when I was picking Survivor this week, I was like, oh, great. There's some great games. The rest was just, not that good. It was bad against bad and good against good this week. And I think we picked these past 2 games we talked about was just bad on bad.
That was bad on bad. You I think everybody there's 3 teams left in Survivor. I think you all picked the Seahawks against the
We did. I
Cardinals.
just checked it. Yeah. The Polly's in it too with me.
I know the football master over there, Polly,
Thing
is
is, I
crushing
have the
Survivor.
Chiefs and the Bills still left. So guess what's coming out in the next 2 weeks?
Probably the Chiefs and the Bills.
Yep. And
That
I
would be my
hope.
guess, considering
I
you're
mean,
just
I haven't
watching them.
looked at their matchups, but I saved a couple. I burned the Commanders week 1, which is great. And I think I used the Giants too. So I think I have a little bit of an advantage, but you know, Bills and Patriots shows us that you can never really actually
You
figure out
never.
what's gonna be a lock or
No,
what. So
no. This, however, was a lock for me. Chiefs 31, Chargers 17.
what?
Chiefs are in a different class than the Chargers. I've been on the Chargers are bad bandwagon from
I
our
know.
NFL preview,
Yep.
and I am riding that bandwagon high right now because are bad. The only issue I'm having is Justin Herbert on my fantasy team. That's the one problem I'm having. But since
Yeah,
Mike Williams
Herbie
went
not
down,
fully loaded.
no, he is not at all fully loaded. Palmer's doing all right, but he's definitely missing Mike Williams. They haven't really gotten into a full rhythm with Eckler, and Everett, a tight end, and Joshua Kelly had a big touchdown for them today, and they still got their ass beat because their defense is no good. Their coach is no good. They're not. They're not a good team. They're not going to compete with teams like the Chiefs.
You think we're
So
going to see the Chiefs again? You think we're going to see Taylor Swift in the Super Bowl?
probably, I wouldn't put it
Yeah.
past them. I I don't know who can stop them. The Jets played them well. The Jets played them well. But the Chiefs' defense all of a sudden is looking really good, and that's a concern for the rest of the league.
Yep. Yep. And they struck lightning in a bottle with Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, they've just got they've nailed some picks. And when you're winning all the time and you can nail some draft picks, I mean, I even think what's his face, Rice, the wide receiver, is really darn good there,
Rasheed
and
Rice
will
looks
and will
good.
be good.
He's
Yeah,
starting to. He's kind of elevated as one of the top receivers. Him and MVS were the leaders today, and then former Jets great Nicole Hardman had a catch today, and that's more than he ever did with the Jets. So good to see him back. Good to see him back with the Chiefs. One catch, 6 yards. He's already he's back.
solid. Yep, he's back. Oh, there he
Yeah.
is. There he is.
Yeah.
Former Hall of Fame Jet,
Yeah.
definitely.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Holmes, 424 yards, 4 touchdowns. Travis Kelsey, I
Disgusting.
mean, National Tight Ends Day, and the tight ends were starring across the league. A lot of tight ends had some big games today, but Kelsey, 12 catches, 179 yards, and a touchdown. It's just stupid.
Except for Hunter frickin' Henry.
Well, he's a
But
bad.
anyhow,
He's a
yeah,
bad.
no shit.
This is a matchup where start of the year you're like, oh, two of the best teams in the AFC. Yeah, Chargers ain't it.
What
Chargers
did
ain't
I
it.
say? Didn't I say the Chargers were going to be like absolutely incredible this year? I totally did on our NFL preview. But you know what I'll stand by? The freaking Cleveland Browns, baby. Yeah. They're making the playoffs.
The
Backup
Browns,
quarterbacks and all.
the Browns look good. They were in a battle with the Colts today, that's for sure. But they did win 39. Browns 39, Colts 38. This was really back and forth. A couple of crucial calls here at the end of the game. Gardner Mania looked like it was back for a while. But
I love it.
Deshaun went out early, another injury. Really didn't. I'm gonna. I'm not gonna shit on the guy. Didn't look like he got that hurt. I was wrong. Like maybe he looked like his head snapped back. I think he doesn't want to play. I don't think the guy really gives a shit. I think he might be just I got my money. It's all fully guaranteed. What am I playing
You got
for?
200 guaranteed $1 million. I would be like, I love practicing. This is
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
That's it. Who cares? Who cares? But it's the Browns defense, and it's the unsung hero coming off the with the Nick Chubb injury, Kareem Hunt coming off the couch, coming in, scoring a touchdown. So I'm big on Kareem Hunt rest of season. I
Yep.
think he overtakes Jerome Ford for touches in that backfield, and I wouldn't be
So Ford did have a
surprised.
nice day today.
He
74
did.
yards on 11 carries and a touchdown. They
Of
could be a
course.
nice and Cleveland's always like that 1-2 punch with Hunt. Chubb and
Yep.
Hunt always were both effective with the Browns the last couple of years. So, but you're right. It's that defense. They're very similar to the Jets in that capacity. I think they have two of the best defenses in the league, and they're winning games that way. I mean, yeah, the Colts scored 38 points today, so that wasn't exactly the reason they won,
Right.
but I mean, Miles Garrett is an absolute unit. He had 2 sacks. I think he had 2 fumble recoveries, or he was involved in every big play that the Browns defense made. He maybe the best player in the league on defense. Maybe we just talked about the Raiders, Max Crosby, The Jets have some guys too, but wow, I mean, he's a difference maker there, and overall their defense is good. They struggled a little bit today, but the Colts and Minshew Mania fell just short.
Yeah, Browns defense, another one of those guys. I feel like I'm always 1 year early on some fantasy picks. I had them 4 fantasy teams last year. Browns defense, they're going to be great. Let's do it. That was a horrible pick last year. Great pick this year. But yeah, totally not the reason that they won, but yeah, it was this was probably the most fun game to watch in the NFL this Sunday.
Yeah, aside from maybe the game that's going on right now, which is the scoring isn't there as expected, but I'm not surprised. I feel like anytime everybody's on the over or everybody's on the under, it's always the opposite. And this was this
Primetime
was a
games,
very high
especially.
over, but a primetime game, yeah. I think it was 52. It was around there. It was up above, well above 50,
Yeah.
and we are not on pace for that at all.
I need that though. I'm playing Tua, and I've got like a couple point lead in one league. So yeah, let's concuss Tua or do something. But this is the Bama Bowl, right? This is the Bama Bowl. Jalen
Yeah,
Hurts needs to win this. He got benched for Tua at Bama. He's coming in determined. So
he
I
is,
would have
and
bet on the Eagles if I bet on this game.
yeah, I did take the Eagles. I don't know if it was me chasing a little bit at the end of the night, at the end of a rough Sunday, but just I think all the Dolphins injuries. My buddy who's a Dolphins fan was kind of just outlining everything that was.
Ew.
Yeah, he's the guy who also roots for the Bills, so I mean he's a problem all over. Yeah,
That's interdivision mingling. You can't
yeah.
do that.
No, he's very problematic, Ryan. But we we won't talk too much about him.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good.
But,
Moving on.
but yeah, it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to come down tight to the end. I got Eagles. I think I went into 2.5. So I'm feeling good right now, but it's tight. It's going to be close.
Right.
So
Yeah, this will be a good finish.
yeah. Well, those are all the games we picked, plus some others that we didn't. My
Mm-hmm.
Jets were on a bye. Your Manders thought they were on a bye. I don't know what happened there, but that was
Tyrod
not
Taylor happened, not Daniel Jones. That's all I have to say. It's well, no, not all I have to say. What's his face? Sam Howell is literally eating dirt all the time. It's
what
not cool.
happened? I did not know that offensive line was going to struggle this bad.
He's gonna break David Carr's record for most sacks in a rookie quarterback. Like that's just disheartening. Like, but the guy gets up. He gets up from every hit, and he comes into the next play. I love Sam Howell. I do.
He's
Just protect the
good.
man.
Yeah,
Protect him, and I hope they give him something to work with. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anything changes this season, but I hope next season they still roll with him. They don't move on from him because I'm a fan of everything that he's done, everything that Bieniemy's brought in, and it just keep the guy upright. Like holy crap, keep him upright, please.
yeah.
It's ridiculous. A
He
bunch of
can't.
Evan Neals out there.
Yeah, much Evan Neal's. Literally, Evan Neal was out there too. And Tyrod took 4 sacks as well. This was kind of just a shit show back and forth. 14-7 game. I mean, the
Gross.
Giants get the win at home, but didn't really look great doing it. Waller finally had a good game. National Tight Ends Day, another one.
Stupid. Get out of here with this national tight end thing. I keep hearing it on the broadcast or whatever. It's so stupid. Darren Waller, and so I'm watching the game on Thursday. You guys had Evan Ingram, Giants. What did you think was going to be different with Darren Waller? You use them the same way. You don't use them, right? And you finally use him today, and he gets 98 yards and a touchdown. But to this point, you sign him. Everybody's excited about him in New York. Oh, we brought in Darren Waller. Oh, we brought in Darren Waller. This is the first time I've seen Darren Waller actually make a difference in a game, which is the 1 or 2 games that Evan Ingram did for years, season over season for the Giants previously. So it's your offense is to not really utilize the tight end. Darren Waller wasn't a huge difference maker. The big difference, I think, honestly, is just Saquon being in the game. Like,
Yeah,
that's really it. It's
yeah.
all Saquon. That's it. Should have paid that guy instead of Daniel Jones because you can clearly win with Tyrod Taylor, right? You clearly went with
Tyrod's
that guy.
they've looked better with Tyrod Taylor than with Daniel Jones.
So what do
Uh,
you do now?
I
What does the
also
locker
think
room feel? Right?
I don't know. Well, I think a lot of it was also Saquon came back the last two games with Tyrod. So I mean, you haven't even really seen Daniel Jones and Saquon together yet this year. So it's been a tough start for the Giants. The problem is, I mean, they have Waller, but they don't have a wide receiver. I mean,
Right.
if they're going to get Jalen Hyatt going, the rookie, then get him going. But Darius Slayton, Wandale Robinson, Sterling Shepard, Isaiah Hodgins, these are all guys that are just not top tier receivers at all.
Garbage. Yeah.
They're Wandale's a slot guy. Slayton has speed, but he's not. He doesn't have the talents of a number one. Hyatt's the rookie who has speed, but I mean,
I think their idea was power football. We've got a quarterback who can, make
can
sound
run.
decisions. He's smart and he can run. You've got a running back who can catch the ball and also run the ball 30 times a game. And you bring in a tight end who's going to be, a big portion of the offense, or so you think. I think that's their thinking. But my goodness, that's not the type of league that you're in anymore. It's not New York. Like it's really not. You need a wide receiver on the outside, and they're kind of plugging and playing. They drafted Kadarius Toney, who was just a
Big
loser.
missed. Yeah, big
Yeah,
miss.
they've just missed on wide receivers ever since Plaxico. But yeah, at the end of the day, I still don't believe in the Giants. Kayvon Thibodeau is a great player though, and their defense is decent right now. So, who knows? They could get as far as that, but I think they're at best a 500 team, but I don't think they even make it there.
Wow, Dolphins just pick six on Hurts. High
That keeps
game.
two off the field. Let's go, Chris's fantasy team.
Not good for my bets.
Ouch. Your wallets, yeah, you're sitting a little bit lower there.
Also, another added thing was, hey, maybe the Dolphins will lose. Yeah, help the Jets out. The Bills already lost today, but I guess I'm not allowed to have nice things. Oh, that was a tip. That was tipped off the defender's hands and just right in. Oh boy, that sucks. All right, well, this will be a fun one to watch the rest of the night.
Brutal. Totally brutal.
Yeah. Well, we have our NBA preview capping off here. All right, everybody, we are back. The Sports Clash. Today we got a special episode, a little NBA preview. Rich and Chris are here with our buddy Tom Policastro, the biggest basketball fan we know. Polly, welcome aboard. Happy to have you
Man,
on here. Ready to talk some b-ball.
thank you both. First time, long time. Honored to be on honored to be on the sports clash here with you gentlemen tonight, for sure.
Nice. Welcome, man. Rich knows that I know nothing about the NBA, so he's like, we better bring on an expert here.
Yeah, we needed some help here. We need some support. So, I talked to you guys a little bit. Figured we'll have some fun with it. We're not going to deep dive here. We're no experts, Polly excluded, but the two of us. Yeah. But I think we'll go conference by conference. Take a look, do some predictions, have some fun. So we'll take a look at the East. First off, in general, excited for the season. With my Knicks last year, finally, we saw some playoff consistency. I think a little bit. I mean, Jalen Brunson was the difference there. Um, I'm I'm expecting them to make the playoffs again. I am. That scares me a little bit. I don't. That's not a feeling that I usually have. So it's nice, but I'm excited, and I think personally for my Knicks, the difference is going to be Julius Randle stepping up in the playoffs and playing like we know he can, and he usually does during the regular season. But from my perspective, that's what I'm looking forward to, most excited about. Polly, what are you looking forward to?
I think there's a lot to be optimistic about if you're the New York Knicks. I think arguably beating the Cavs last season was an overachievement kind of moment. And I also like that they didn't kind of get ahead of themselves and try to blow up something that wasn't a championship contender. It's nice that they're standing pat with Jalen Brunson at the helm, and certainly a much improved Julius Randle, even if he didn't quite get him over the hump in the playoffs. To me, what it comes down to with the Knicks is whether or not RJ Barrett can take a next level and a next leap to
100%.
kind of be a third star or at least a third option. And right now, he's very much an NBA player, and I wouldn't necessarily want to disparage him, but he hasn't quite taken that offensive initiative, at least in a way that yields to more points and more W's for the Knicks. So, shoot, I don't think I answered your question, but you bring up the Knicks.
I'll talk next the whole night. Somebody please stop me. But
no, dude, I think the Knicks have a good shot, man. I mean, they're Nicanova right now. They brought in Vincenzo if RJ Barrett doesn't take that next step to be that third option. And it's all about their role players. If Quickly can be consistent or be like a six man and Julius Randle can stay Julius Randle of the regular season into the playoffs, I think they got a good shot at making a deep run.
Love it. I mean, that makes me happy. As far as the East overall is concerned, you still have your big boys there, but now you got kind of a new beast with Lillard in Milwaukee. It's kind of scary, interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, on the surface, it was obviously a big trade. It looks good, but the Bucks did send some pieces out in that trade, including Drew Holiday. Well, he was that in the same trade, or I think he was moved in the separate deal, but it was okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and then he was traded again after the trade, right? But yeah, a lot of pieces moving in that, and the Bucks. I mean, you got Lillard and you got Giannis, and that's a scary duo. And with the Sixers, you don't know what's going on right there with Harden. Embiid's coming off an MVP season, but the Sixers couldn't do anything in the playoffs, and we all know the talent Embiid has, but you can't do it alone. And you have a guy there in Harden who is doing what he's done before and causing issues. How do we think that plays out?
I hope it plays out pretty well because I'm highly invested in them, judging on my fantasy team. Kick it to Polly to answer that question for real.
As far as I'm concerned, there are some cool teams to watch in the Eastern Conference. I think the Cavs are pretty neat if you were kind of a betting man or if you were a sneaky, Cleveland fan. But I think if we're talking about who's winning the East, it's very much become a two-horse race between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics. I think there's a lot to be said for Chris Middleton being healthy this season for the Bucks, and I think an undersold acquisition for the Bucks is Malik Beasley, who will kind of pick up where Drew Holiday left off in terms of being an elite defender at the guard position. And I think from there, frankly, to Rich's point, offensively, all you gosh darn need is, Lillard and Giannis running, and then you have people like Middleton and Brook Lopez, even at this later stage of his career, kind of bailing people out. For instances where they can't just run the gosh darn ball up and down the court like racehorses. But I mean, the Celtics are retooled in a big way, especially if KP can stay healthy. It comes down to health for them. They're insanely deep. I mean, the Celtics, frankly, not that there aren't other great teams, other relevant teams, but they come off like a 2K creative team. Yeah. They are very much that team, 1-5 and borderline 1-6. Worth noting that they unloaded Robert Williams. Not a lot of rim protection on that team any longer. I think that's going to be relevant when you play teams, especially teams that do play a slower pace, which are admittedly few and far between in the NBA these days. But they will run into some difficulty, especially if KP is not healthy when they play larger teams down in the post. But I think that there's no limit to the firepower and, frankly, defensive flexibility they have outside of the rim to be able to, counteract all of that. I think they're very much the people you're looking up to. And I think there's no reason to consider the Sixers a true championship threat. I think there's a lot of unrest there. Something to be said for Doc Rivers not being able to get over the hump with that team. But they're still in a matter of transition. We got to see if Joel Embiid decides he wants to stay there in today's NBA, where players can just pick and choose whether or not they want to leave. So I think that the Sixers have to get their house in order before they get, gosh darn, championship dreams on their mind. Again, some fun teams in the East, but it's definitely Bucks and Celtics for my money for sure.
That being said, predictions top of the East. I do, we talked a little bit about it. I do think the Bucks are just a bit better than Boston. I think they have that star power that obviously the Celtics have it, but I'm excited. Maybe it's the hype. Maybe it's a new, seeing a new pairing. But I mean, it's not like the Bucks haven't done it before, even without Lillard. They can easily be atop the East. So I mean, it might be a boring prediction, but I think the Bucks take the East again. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, that's pretty boring. I'm interested to see how Dame Lillard plays with another star. I don't think that I think the Bucks are there. I'm going Celtics though. I really am. After the disappointment of last season, I think Tatum is there. His boy got paid on the other side too, and Kristaps Porzingis, like Polly said, stays healthy. I mean, that's a legitimate. Yeah, but that's a legitimate triangle of stars right there. And I know the Bucks have Middleton and everything like that, but at the end of the day, I'm interested to see how well Lillard plays with another star, and how well, to be honest, Giannis plays with another star. I know he's a drive and kick guy, but Lillard's a pull up and shoot guy. So we'll see. I just have never really believed in the Bucks. I love Giannis. I just don't know that it was necessarily the right move, but they'll be there. And I'm just taking a shot in the dark with the Celtics. Not really in the dark. They were there last year, but again, I'm a big fan of Jason Tatum this year, and a big fan of hopefully Kristaps Porzingis staying healthy and showing us what he can actually do. What about you, Polly?
Probably the Celtics if I had to pick, but it's between those guys and a couple of cool teams there in the mix as well. A couple of teams that are one trade away, I would say. Knicks and Cavs being one of them, if I'm being honest. But if we're looking at paper right now, Celtics, Bucks, and probably the edge to the Celtics.
That's fair. It's probably my
2-horse race.
Yeah, it's probably my anti-Boston bias kicking in too, but I can't help that. It's just going to happen. And we know Porzingis. We've seen him at. It's always that if and last year he looked great and he overall was healthy, but can he do it again? And he's still very young, which is crazy to think.
Right.
I mean,
that in and of itself, yeah.
He's really not. You think, oh man, he's breaking down and at 34 by now, right? No, I mean he started out so young that it's like it's wild. But I wasn't happy when I saw him go to Boston. And I am rooting for him. I have no hard feelings with him and him leaving. The way he left the Knicks. At first, it was upsetting, but in the end, it all worked out. So, yeah. Well, we're looking at the East. Talk about the top, but kind of going a little further down. Looking at the mix of the rest of the teams, I think we have a couple teams that we think are maybe shoo-ins for the playoffs. But what's one team that can maybe surprise and maybe they don't have the odds to make it right now? And when I say playoffs, I'm not talking the play-in. I mean they maybe they make the play-in and win and get in. I'm talking and get into the playoffs. Chris, you got one?
Pacers. Yeah, really no reason why other than the fact that I like their starting lineup. Outside of that, I just think that there's a few teams that are going to fall off this year, and I think they'll be able to sneak in. And they've been on an upward trajectory for the past couple of years. They have a legitimate leader, and I think they'll be good. But yeah, completely a guess there. So we'll see. But Polly, what do you think?
When it comes to the East, I don't see a lot of people. I can see a lot of seeds being shuffled around, but there are not many playoff teams that I suddenly see as falling out. The Nets would probably be one of them, although a Nets team with no pressure and a presumably healthy Ben Simmons could be a lot of sleeper rather. Oh dear, sleeper.
A sleepy
fun
sleeper.
to watch. As I just doze off. Uh, if I were to speculate on a team making a push, um, I'd probably consider the Chicago Bulls. They picked up Javon Carter, and they're waiting on Kobe White to kind of take continued steps to be a point guard of the future. So they're kind of at this point, I don't want to say planning for a future without Lonzo Ball, but they're certainly not trying to play the waiting game until he comes back. And Lord knows, I hope he does. And then in addition, they have Patrick Williams pops to mind as just like second and third year players where you're just kind of hoping um, that kind of players kind of make the jump. And if certain players on the Chicago Bulls, like Kobe White and Patrick Williams, step up with Vucevic and gosh darn Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, who's one of my favorite players in the league. Any player who has a mid-range jumper is by default one of my favorites. Again, nothing that's going to shatter our top five, but if we're talking about genuinely just like suddenly they're in the playoffs, I have every reason to believe that if the Bulls get some breaks, they'll be there for sure.
I agree with both of you. The Bulls were. I was thinking about the Bulls myself. I mean, they have the names there for sure, and I hate even more to agree with my colleague Chris over here, but I actually did pick the Pacers as my surprise team as well. I looked at the odds. They're plus 120 to make the playoffs, so they are. They aren't expected to be in. Another year, Halliburton, guys, unbelievable. Maturin, is that how you call it? Yeah, Maturin. I mean, in second year, he was their top pick last year. Looked all right, but take a step up. They have a lot of young talent, and I think one of the teams.
Yeah, great draft pick right there, in my opinion, from Kentucky.
I mean,
sorry.
Yeah, no, don't be sorry. I don't like the Pacers as an organization. I will not let that bias get in though. Halliburton's really fun to watch. I mean, on him alone and how exciting that team can be, I think they can sneak into the playoffs.
That said, I have to interject if you're going to say it.
Please.
I think, to be honest, he wouldn't be the guy I would pick, but I think Obi Toppin could be a sleeper most improved player of the year.
Yeah.
But with that said, I still don't see a scenario where the Pacers aren't sellers and Buddy Hield and Miles Turner will wind up on different teams by the end of the season, and therefore they don't make the playoffs.
I can see that. I mean, Hield's getting on in age now, and I don't know how much of a fit he is with that young squad. And he is an attractive piece for a team. I mean, even like the Knicks to maybe make a push. So I do agree on Obi too. I mean, he's another reason I didn't even mention him, but he's another reason I kind of put the Pacers there. He's going to be starting for them, and anytime he started for the Knicks, he did play well. He didn't have the minutes. He just wasn't really in favor with Tibbs. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying he's going to be an unbelievable superstar, but he's got the talent to be a solid player, and you can see him building this year. So they're going to be fun to watch. So it is a squad. Anything else as far as the East goes that either of you gentlemen wanted to touch on?
I don't think the Heat make the playoffs, or they end up 7 or 8 seed. I really don't think the Heat have done anything to improve. That's kind of my hot take on the East. I really don't.
Yeah, good call. Let's do like kind of the surprise playoff miss, which we didn't get to. Is the Heat your pick there? They're out.
It is. It's the Heat and Jimmy Butler's haircut. It's really just not going to flow. It's not going to flow. But I really think just a year older for some of their players. Year older, year slower, and I just feel like they went on a miracle run last year. Playoff Jimmy came through, and they were 7 or 8 seed last year. They were pretty low seed last year. I think they miss this year, unless they make a deal like for a Buddy Hield or something like that to improve. I don't know. I don't believe in them. I didn't believe in them last year, though. I lost a lot of money betting against them. So, again, might not be a popular pick, but I don't think the Heat are anywhere near as good or make a run as deep as they did last year.
Yeah, I think there's an element to the Heat that's in reality lightning in a bottle, and I think that if I'm being honest, and I say this with a lot of love, but I think there's a lot of just like, oh, Heat culture, and it makes you kind of blind to the fact that it's like, nah, man, they were a 7 seed that got pretty hot, and Max Truss got paid and he got traded. Like they are going to fall off, and like if your estimation of them is just like, yeah, they're not going to make the playoffs this year. Like, I mean, make the finals this year. Like, yeah, let me sign that real quick. I think they're too well organized, and the East and the bottom is too much, too inconsistent for me to truly bet against the Heat making the playoffs. Um, like I said, I think if we're talking 6 to 8, I mean, yeah, those 6 to 8 teams, I could see the Nets certainly falling out. But again, the Nets with no pressure could be a lot of fun to watch here in the tri-state area on Yes Network, quick plug. And then I
sure
do
they
think,
appreciate the plug.
right,
Yeah, and they need it. Yeah, definitely.
and then 9 seed last season. I do think this is the year where uh, Toronto falls out in earnest and become kind of a rebuilding squad again in earnest. Yeah, so I mean, I could see the Heat missing the playoffs, but to me that's a bit of a stretch just because the East itself is not powerful enough to shut them out. I would say the Nets are out, and for what it's worth, I wouldn't see Toronto even making the play-in.
Like that makes sense too. Definitely. What about you, Rich?
My surprise playoff miss for the East, I'm going to go with the Hawks. I think this is kind of the year where this Trae Young era in Atlanta is derailing. I think it's ending. Collins is out. Obviously, John Collins has struggled the last year or so, but he's gone now, and they built a lot of that core around expecting Collins to be a stud there. DeAndre Hunter too hasn't really developed a ton, at least not from what I've seen. And they kind of just like the same old. They're a bit stale. Trey is just a little too nuts with the ball sometimes. They don't have that consistency. Trey can carry a team to a lot of wins, but I think overall they're just not there, and I think they're going to fall out of favor this year.
Yeah, I can see it for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Appreciate the support. All right. Well, now with anything else regards to the East before we get to the West?
No, let's head out west.
Let's head out west.
You say
Way
that
more interesting out there in the NBA for me, at least. But yeah,
Look at that transition. I mean, the guy knows now. I mean,
right.
he's a veteran of the
A little manifest destiny here on the podcast.
Oh boy. Well,
James Monroe. Anywho,
this is why they don't have me on every week.
That's why we should have you on every week.
hummus.
Well, to the West, as Chris said, let's go West. There's a defending champion in the West Conference, the Denver Nuggets. They have Nikola Jokic, who didn't win MVP last year, but he was previously back-to-back MVP. He was Finals MVP. He handled everything like he was going through a 9-to-5 job. Yeah. Just kind of, not really interested. Didn't even look happy to be there. But man, when he was in his office, unbelievable. We couldn't be stopped. And there's really no reason that team can't dominate the top of the West again. I'm not going with any surprises as far as the best team in the West. I think it's Denver, clearly, again. But there are some decent teams. And, I mean, the Lakers are a team that I'm kind of intrigued by again now. Maybe that's just because I'm watching the end of the LeBron era closely. But I mean, you saw how well they played in playoffs last year. Anthony Davis was healthy and dominating until he didn't. Hachimura was a nice add for them too. And then Austin Reeves really looked good. He's a legit player, legit shooter. They're an exciting team. So yeah, who do you like at the top, Polly?
Man, at the top, to your point, it's hard to envision the Nuggets going anywhere. But the thing about the Western Conference for years now is just like your 1 through 3 tend to be pretty established teams, and then gosh darn 4 through 12 is just like you could just roll the dice and like they'll play each other and be solid teams. I phrase that a little weird, but it's just kind of like to your point. I don't think in a regular season instance there's any reason to doubt the Nuggets, but then it all comes down to can you win 4 out of 7? And to that end, I'm not going so far as to say that I would bet against the Nuggets, but I think there are a ton of teams that it could become anybody's guess. A retooled Phoenix team being one of them, meaning more than the Bradley Beal trade was being able to work with Portland to get Ayton out of there, and more importantly, a functioning bench in their own right. I think that actually it's weird to say with a team with so many all stars as Phoenix. I kind of wouldn't sleep on them because last year the only reason they petered out is because they were a 6-man team. Um, so again, in a real regular season sense, like yeah, I have every reason to believe that it's going to be the Nuggets. But teams such as the Suns and such as the Lakers will certainly, and we've never truly seen Kawhi and Paul George healthy at the same time. For
But will we ever? Like, will it actually happen?
yeah,
happening
you know,
this year.
This is the year it's happening.
I don't know. Yeah. Why not? Never play scared, right? Never bet scared.
Yeah.
only point being that once the playoffs hit and they got to win 4 out of 7, um, certainly more compelling than certainly our conversation today would probably have you believe, because I think there is a consensus that the Nuggets are the team to beat.
Yeah, I'm going to be highly boring here. The Nuggets, I mean, I was completely blown away watching the NBA playoffs with them last year. Jamal Murray is, just in the gym range, like he's just insane. And as long as Jokic is healthy the entire season, which, the guy pounds like 2 liters of Coca-Cola and it's like his miracle drug. I don't know what's up with him, but he's just a soft looking dude and he's the hardest mother on the floor. So, I mean, I don't even know how you beat them. I don't know how you match up with them. That inside outside game is incredible with him. His assists, it's just no look pass after no look pass, bounce it. Pushing him would be the Suns and possibly the Clippers stay healthy. Who knows, the Lakers, whatever. But that's just a crapshoot after them. They're a dominant force in the West, and like the West is, I think, deeper than the East, but I think has, the more upper echelon team in the Nuggets right now. So going to be pretty boring there and say that the West is, you got to go through the Nuggets.
Yeah, it's true. Looking at the top teams, I think the one team that could challenge them maybe is Phoenix. Adding Bradley Beal, again, another guy who, if he can stay healthy and perform, can take that team with Booker and Durant to another level as that third star. They finally have somebody else other than Landry Shamet to come out and do some work in there. So
you love yourself some Landry Shamet, that's for sure.
Superstar Landry Shamet. Yeah. Like they added Grayson Allen too. I mean, he can kind of.
Oh God, the most punchable face in basketball.
Extremely.
What a jerk that man is. But he's a good basketball player, maybe good role player. We'll see. Who knows?
Good shooter off the bench, which you need. But I think they're a little bit deeper. But yeah, I mean, I think we're all in agreement there. The Nuggets are the class of the West.
Yep.
As far as a surprise playoff team, Polly, who do you have?
Man, again, the West is so weird just because, again, those 4 through 12 teams are so relevant. And it doesn't mean that they're all spectacular, but none of those teams are teams that you want to sleep on and wake up and see in the morning that you have to play to make the playoffs, you know? I think, uh, frankly, Utah with the John Collins move in mind, I'm hoping that I see, gosh darn, Jordan Clarkson as more of a six man, which they kind of didn't do last year. And to be clear, the Jazz overachieved in every sense of the word, but Colin Sexton should be healthy this year, and I'm hoping that they allow him to take the reins. Taylor Horton Tucker is a guy who's dynamic. I could see, gosh darn, the Jazz taking a step with that in mind if they manage their lineup correctly. Um, we make fun of, or we have made fun of, like, have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard ever truly been healthy at the same time? I do think, in addition to obviously being a make or break season, I think this is Zion's year
Yes.
for the New Orleans Pelicans. And that triumvirate of Zion, Brandon Ingram, and uh, CJ McCollum, them at full strength with all of these cast of characters like Jose Alvaro, whose name I might be mispronouncing, but all of those players, Herb Jones being one of them, that had to step up and take on roles that they weren't necessarily initially paid to do. Suddenly adding Zion to that mix makes them very, very, very dynamic and dangerous. And last but not least, I think I was a big fan of the Christian Wood signing for the Dallas Mavs. It didn't quite pan out, and Kyrie Irving is justifiably one of the most polarizing people in sports, and I get that, and I'm not going to get into that on this podcast. But I don't think there's any basketball reason where he was responsible for the Mavericks' shortcomings last season. And I think that they have truly, as a front office, taken accountability for what makes Luka and Kyrie the best. And they've retooled and picked up some rebounders, drafted correctly, getting Derek Lively. Grant Williams is a perimeter defender. They're going to defend, they're going to board, and then Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to shoot some wild shots.
Yes, he will. Can confirm.
I think that the Mavs have truly found the appropriate niche for them to make the most of Luka Doncic's time. So the long answer to your question, and I know that I'm giving three, but I could see Utah, Dallas, and New Orleans being incredibly relevant in the West, where they weren't so much last year.
Yeah, New Orleans was going to be mine. I mean, Brandon Ingram is just a difference maker, and as long as Zion is, touched a treadmill at some point in this offseason, hopefully he can stay healthy and stay effective in his 19 minutes that he gets a game or whatever. But those are incredible 19 minutes when he is healthy. It's ridiculous. But yeah, the Pelicans were going to be my pick. They also got my boy EJ Liddell coming off a big injury off of his rookie year last year, but I don't know that he plays or anything like that. But I do think McCollum, Ingram, and Zion are a force to be reckoned with, and it's just something that I think people are overlooking. Only other thing that I want to talk about is probably Oklahoma City. If Chet Holmgren stays healthy, Oklahoma City with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and him, while they might not have all the depth that they need to make a deep run, I think they could be a scary team that could, pull an upset in the first round in the West too. So I love Chet Holmgren, and I know that we're in the year of the unicorn. If we're talking about Porzingis, Holmgren, and Wembanyama all running down the floor, all stretched out like Gumby, but it'll be fun to watch all of them. I love Chet at Gonzaga. He was incredible when he played, and I think he could really be a great NBA player because this is what the NBA is now. It's just ridiculously tall tree folk. So yeah, I'm into the Pelicans and I'm into the Thunder next year too.
Well, you mentioned Wembanyama, and I kind of am going a little bit out there on this one, but I'd like to see the Spurs make a run and surprise people and make the playoffs. I mean, I think Wembanyama is going to be just that good, and Popovich is still your head coach, and obviously the man knows what he's doing. You have some other young talent there. I mean, Zach Collins is a really good center. Devin Vassell looked good before he got hurt, but there's talent there. They have C.D. Osman, I think, coming off the bench too. Another solid, kind of 6-man kind of guy.
And then that Sochan point guard, right?
Yeah, I don't know too much about Sochan,
Yeah.
but he was the 9th overall pick in 2022. So obviously there's hype around him. He's starting at point guard. So it's a lot of young talent there, and I think if I remember correctly, they were in some games last year that they shouldn't have even been in. I mean, Popovich I guess you would say they're in similar terms like with Belichick in his era, just those head coaches, and now Pop is kind of going through some losing seasons as is Belichick, and I have the faith in Popovich, and now with all this top tier talent, it's impressive. So I think they could make a run. Yes, sir.
I want to toss one more in there, and that's the Portland Trailblazers.
Awesome.
Everybody's talking about what they lost, but think about what they gained. Decent draft, Scoot Henderson. They bring in DeAndre Ayton in the middle, Jeremy Grant on the outside. They have Malcolm Brogdon. Chris Murray from Iowa was an incredible college player. I think that the Blazers could gel as a team, and they could surprise some folks too, because everybody's talking about what they lost, but think about what they gained. And the Blazers, could be a decent team that surprises people. I think it all hinges on how good Scoot is as a rookie, though.
And Simons is a great player for sure. He's going to continue to bloom, I think, with Damian Lillard not there. But I think
you mentioned Robert Williams too, leaving the Celtics. He's over there on the Blazers as well.
Just comes down to the West being so deep,
Yeah.
I mean, nothing anybody is saying here is wrong, but we're all talking about it like there's 12 spots to be had when realistically there's only 10 if you want to see the glasses half full. So yeah, man. I mean, it's an interesting and really special time in the NBA because you do have a lot of teams, and certainly only one or two of them would you consider rollover worthy.
Yeah. All right, gents. Moving on. Talked about kind of our surprise positive playoff teams we like. How about a surprise miss in the playoffs? A team we maybe think not going to play as well as others expect. Polly, what do you think?
I'm going to go ahead and say it, and I understand that this is an egg on my face moment. I think the Memphis Grizzlies fall off. I think Ja Morant's 25-game suspension is significant. Sees Steven Adams is going to miss the entire season. He's getting surgery. Defensive Player of the Year, Jaren Jackson Jr. He's going to be great. He's going to be solid. I think Desmond Bane is an unsung hero of the NBA, but the West is so stacked, and I think to an extent, while the word choice may be dramatic, I think the Lakers exposed them a little bit last season, and man, it's not even that I think they're going to do that poorly. I just think the West is that good, and I can't see them doing as well. I put real money that they finish under the 3rd seed in the West, but I could see it being even more dramatic than that. And frankly, I could see us looking back and saying that this is the Ja Morant what if kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I really do see that happening. Not to say that Ja Morant will not be successful again in the NBA, but I think there's a real chance where this might be the Ja Morant-led team that falls short, and then Ja Morant becomes a very important player and superstar and person who makes mistakes. I'm not trying to disparage him, but I think that there's a real chance that the Grizzlies, as we've known them for the past 3-4 seasons, very much done.
I agree. I like that pick. Chris, who you got?
I mean, I couldn't have said it better. I mean, yeah, that's a legitimate. Going to talk about the Ja Morant suspension and everything, but I'll go with I think it was the 8 seed last year. It was the Timberwolves. Just don't see enough from them to even continue to even sniff the playoffs this year. Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, he has some twin towers down low, but outside of that, I just don't see anything on their roster or anything from them, especially from their ownership group with A-Rod to prove that they're a substantial or legitimate winner. In my
Way to drop
eyes.
that name, man.
I had to. That was my 1B team. So you know, obviously, I think we're all in agreement on the Grizzlies, but the Timberwolves, you know, not a good move for you know, wild animals in the West here. So I think there's enough teams to go ahead and move into contention in the West who have improved their rosters and have young talent. And Timberwolves didn't do shit. So, yeah, not a believer in them. It's easy to lop off the 7 or 8 seed from last year and say they're not going to make it. But you have an opportunity with Karl Anthony Towns in his prime, and you know, even Gobert's a great player. It just they didn't do anything.
Oh, nah, I can't. Yeah,
No, it's been fun, and I love my boy Mikey Shoes. I love Mikey
I was going to
Conley.
say your boy Mikey Shoes. You know, that's
Getting old too, you know. So we all are.
He's been getting old.
Only person not getting old is Chris Porzingis, man.
He's got Benjamin Button. He's actually decreasing in age.
He's actually getting shorter.
That's
good one.
Not a bad pick. I mean, it's a bold pick. It's with a team with Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, you know, in that West, missing the playoffs would be surprising, but would be shocking.
Gobert is not meshed with anything, and I'm not saying it's all on him. I don't know what goes on inside that clubhouse and inside that ownership group. To Chris's point, enough to really say that, but that Gobert trade might go down in history as the one where your young son says, like, "Hey, Dad, tell me about this." And you say, like, "Oh, you know, sit down, Dante. Let me tell you." All right.
I love Anthony Edwards too. I mean, we're looking at a legitimate, like, you know, future face of the NBA if he's not already the face of the NBA. But the rest of the team just sucks.
I'm going with a team that you guys both mentioned you like, and I'm going with the Pelicans. I think Zion will never reach his potential and never be healthy. And it's disappointing to say that. And I'm not rooting for it. I'm rooting for him to play because he's very fun to watch. But I don't see it happening. I do like Ingram. I'm not a fan of McCollum, especially if Zion's going to be out and they're going to try to lean too much on McCollum to be a star there. You know, Valanciunas is a beast at center, but he does not have Benjamin Buttons. He's getting up there. He's been around for a while now. It's a team where I don't see it, and it all hinges on Zion. Zion could come back, be in unbelievable shape, play 80 games, and dominate the league, and the Pelicans could be a 2 or a 3 seed. But I don't see it, and I don't think without him they have enough to really make a mark or make playoffs.
Zion in shape is like the biggest oxymoron you could ever. Yeah, I'm banking on 18 minutes of amazing basketball, and then the rest of the cast takes it. But yeah, I can see that.
It's been 3 years now where we're just watching commercials that he stars in to see. Oh man, he looks like he lost a little weight.
Yeah,
he needs to get on the subway's got everybody else but Zion. He needs to get on that Subway Jarrett diet or something.
Yeah, we don't want to get on that Jarrett diet. That was a trouble.
Yeah, well, sorry. Let's move on from that.
It's not my podcast, baby. I am a guest.
Anything else on the West before we move on to some award predictions?
Now, the West, I feel like you could talk about all day. There's so many teams. Like, me and Polly gave like 3 teams that we think could rise up, and like it's you know, the West, I think, is where the NBA is won. Other than that, it's the Bucks and the Celtics, and that's pretty much it. Hopefully, the Knicks for you though, buddy. Oh,
thanks, bud. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Well, let's move on to awards. We'll talk 6-man, Rookie of the Year, and MVP. Let's start with 6-man, and I'll kick it off. because I'm going to go with my boy Emmanuel quickly. Probably should have won it last year, but was robbed. And
Rob.
yeah, he was very much. The guy is the sixth man of the league. He's not going to start. He is going to still be in that bench role. Depends on where you're playing Barrett, and now you got Dante and you got Hart. They're all going to get time, but quickly still going to get consistent minutes off the bench, and there aren't too many bench players who can do what he does. Now, he doesn't do it consistently. That's why he's the sixth man, but he showed flashes, and he shined the brightest when he was stepping up in for Brunson for a couple games last year. But he's just got so much talent. He didn't really show it in the playoffs, which was unfortunate. He was another one, along with Randall, that struggled a bit. But quickly is my guy, sixth man of the year. Chris, who you got?
Sixth man of the year. This one obviously to me is like I don't really know what to predict here with this. With the sixth man, I feel like you kind of have to know teams and the depth and everything. But I'm going to go for a nice finger roll here with CP3 on the Golden State Warriors. I think he's old as heck, but I think this might be his swan song. He plays just enough minutes and gets just enough assists with that cast of characters to be sixth man of the year, and everybody's like, "Yay, CP3!" And he didn't actually win a championship or do anything, but it's like the crowning moment on his career. So I'm going with Chris Paul. I think people weren't really sure if he was going to even stay on that roster. He may even start, who knows? But at the end of the day, I think he comes off the bench, and I think he provides a good amount of assists and maybe a couple threes with kind of what their MO is in that on that team. So I'm going with CP3 as sixth man of the year. How the mighty have fallen.
Man.
Yeah,
but he's still incredible. And honestly, man,
sure.
He's not. He's a little petty sometimes with like pointing out that people's shirts are untucked. I'm not saying I'm the biggest Chris Paul fan in the world, but very honestly,
Well, that's Cliff. I mean, that's
right.
just Cliff by now.
his his pick and roll game where he just pops from the free throw elbow is genuinely one of the prettiest things to watch in basketball, and that's in a league with Steph Curry in it, to be honest. And also, like on a really non-basketball related note, when they were doing those State Farm commercials, when he was like paranoid when he heard the jingle, I'll be hot damned if that wasn't the funniest thing I've ever seen. Man. Like, actually, very seriously, for like this year's Halloween, I'm gonna wear a Chris Paul jersey and just be paranoid all night. And I think that's going to be, paranoid Chris Paul in the State Farm commercials.
Let's have a ringtone go off every time you, every time you need it.
If I can convince my roommate to be Jake, that I think will be the route we go. Anyway, I think that's a great shout. It's tough to gauge six man until you see teams' rotations, which are always kind of in flux. I alluded to it earlier. The only person I could think to write down was Jordan Clarkson, just because I really hope that they let Colin Sexton be the guy there and just let Jordan Clarkson be instant offense for Utah as needed. I think the six-man role is something that obviously Jordan Clarkson is familiar with, and I think it could really help bring out the best in certainly that team, if not him. And then for times where Anthony Davis sits, which is going to happen, not trying to disparage him, still have a lot of love for Christian Wood. But realistically, I think it's Jordan Clarkson in Utah for me.
Nice.
Rookie of the year, I mean, I don't know how much time we need to spend on this one. Maybe you guys have something. Look, I'm gonna just come out and say, like, for me, it's Wembanyama, and it's not.
Oh, no way!
Like, it's crazy. I know. It's just going nuts here, going out on a limb. But I mean, there's a reason people have been hyping this guy up as the next big thing, and he's literally the next big thing. I mean, he's enormous. Like you said, what'd you call him? Tree trunk, just tree people taking over the
tree
league.
People. Yeah, the end from Lord of the Rings, the tree people.
Good. I love it. I mean, do either of you have a surprise here, or would you want?
I do.
I can see
getting
excited.
Brandon Miller second overall pick from Alabama, absolute stretch forward, goes to Charlotte. But the only reason that I'm doing that is because I think Wembanyama has a nice little foot injury or some sort of ACL or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and throw Brandon Miller in there because he's one of the most incredible game changers I've ever seen in college. And that's, seeing a lot of guys come through Kentucky and Kansas and all the big places and everything. But the way that he played at Alabama was incredible. And I'm just going to go ahead and throw Brandon Miller on the table because I think that he can be that difference maker. And if in any other draft without a Victor Wembanyama, he is hands down the Rookie of the Year favorite. So I'm going to predict an injury here, and I'm going to go with Brandon Miller for Rookie of the Year, just to differentiate myself, and so we can look back and I can say I told you so.
I do think it's Wembanyama. However, I think it comes down to between he and Holmgren, whose feet and knees kind of hold up better. Anytime you're moving that kind of weight and wingspan, your joints take a pounding. There's a lot to be said for that. So again, not to get over cute with it, but I could see a scenario where the Thunder do better than the Spurs, and as a result, it's just kind of like, what has been the difference for the Thunder? And but realistically, it's Wembanyama's to lose. But there are more names in the conversation than you might think, just because a lot of those tend to be based on how your team's doing as well.
Yeah, Brandon Miller. I mean, he had issues with the firearm incident last year. I think he was just hit with a wrongful death suit. I don't know how long it's going to follow him. I don't know if becomes something that hurts him in his career.
It's a tough time to be a Charlotte Hornet, man.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a different podcast altogether. But,
the true crime podcast right there.
Yeah. Well, we'll leave that for the True Crime Charlotte podcast. We won't dive too deep, but this one can be a lot of fun. MVP. Embiid won it last year, snapping Jokic's streak. He won a couple years in a row. Those two are at the top of the list again, but you have a couple other candidates as well that a good amount. I mean, there's say 5 to 10 legitimate MVP candidates. Mm-hmm. I'm interested to see what you guys think. Polly, who's your MVP?
I thought Luka would have made that stride last year. I'll go with Luka this year. I don't think Jokic is going anywhere, and he's phenomenal. And I think that Embiid, the one thing he does is dictate how you play offensively. I don't think any other player, other than Tatum, necessarily does that. I think that is a reason that Embiid won it last year. That and just wanting to differentiate from Jokic being the most involved player. I mean, it's just insane what Jokic can do. So all fandom, let's say Luka makes the big stride. But if I'm voting with my head and not my heart, man, Jokic is the one who got him there, and Embiid did not. He's just fundamental to every offensive player that you run. It's incredible what he does.
Chris, what do you think?
Well, you mentioned my guy, Jason Tatum. I'm on the Celtics over the Bucks this year, and I think Jason Tatum again dictates the game. He needs to not shy away from the big moment this year, but 30 points last year on average, and he plays in pretty much every game. Doesn't get hurt, and he's got a guy down low to get some boards, to get some assists to in Porzingis, and there's no Marcus Smart. I think Jason Tatum has the MVP season if he comes close to his stats from last year, which I think he finished in like the top of the MVP voting. So I'm going to go with Tatum because I think the Celtics are going to have a great year, and I think he's going to lead the charge.
Big Boston guy over there, huh?
Yeah, just testing you. I'm just poking you.
I know. Well, I'm going to agree with one of you, and it's not Chris. I think, I think Luca. I think this is the year for Luca. I think he's going to lead the NBA in scoring, and as good as those other guys are, there may be even a little bit of voter fatigue with some of those other guys. Luca hasn't won it yet, so I think just this is the year with him, and Kyrie's not going to hinder him from doing
I hope
anything.
not.
I mean,
Yeah.
Kyrie has been a bit of a poison pill in instances, but they still have enough other talent there. But it's all on Luca on that team, and he's going to be scoring every night. And I think regardless of how far he takes them in the playoffs, I think Luca regular season. I mean, just dominant MVP.
I hope so. I honestly hope so. Guy deserves it. His body of work over the course of his career in the NBA. Yeah, probably. Well, of course, probably picked Luke. He's wearing a Mavs sweatshirt and hat. He's not just probably wearing Mavs shorts too and
Yeah,
shoes.
I'm not going to stand up.
Check out my Lucas. Yeah. No, I could definitely see that happening. You mentioned voter fatigue, Rich. I mean, I think that's part of what happened to Jokic this
Yeah.
year with Embiid, and I could see that happening with Embiid. Not wanting just a repeat and wanting a new guy in there, and whoever is that top dog who lights up the scoreboard does pretty well, and I think they want somebody new in there. So we'll see.
And I don't think it's going to be a circus, mind you, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of positive press coming out of Philly. I think
Yeah.
that's going to work against Embiid right off the bat. As far as I'm concerned, like I said, Jokic, Luka, and Tatum, and Tatum's in that conversation because nobody crafts their offense around being prepared for Luka. It's just you want to be prepared for Luka when he has the ball in his hands.
Well, gentlemen, that was fun. Anything we want to add? Any kind of a bold prediction or just a statement? Anything we haven't touched on that you guys want to talk about?
No, I think we covered it all. For me, taking my opportunity, I want to thank you both for having me on. Boy, oh
Oh,
boy,
yeah, man.
speaking with you guys.
Always
Um,
a blast. Thank you for coming on. I mean, we needed the help for the basketball preview.
sure, and it's
Yeah.
nice listening to your other stuff, and I follow along with like about 70% of it, and then you reach that 30% where I'm just like, oh, it sounds good. Yeah,
Good. As long as it sounds good. That's the goal. Just
right.
make it sound good. I might not know what the hell I'm talking about, but just make it sound good.
But it's a highlight of my work week. Let's be sure. Proud to be on the sports class. Yeah,
Thank you, brother.
Thanks, man.
Much appreciated. Thank you again for coming on, and we'll talk
sure.
to you soon.
All right.
Been off here, so we're not going to do any segments this week. We'll have plenty of content, but we'll get back to those next week. NBA starts Tuesday. NHL's in full swing. My Islanders lost badly to the Sabres yesterday, and they lost to the Devils on Friday in overtime. That was a good game. The Sabres game was not, but yeah, I've lost money on the Islanders too the last couple nights.
Sabres
So it's been
terrible, man.
not the best weekend. Yeah, no, that's why I was like, quick, easy money, but nope, not the case. Playoff baseball, the Astros are looking like the
Turned it
Astros.
off. Ugh.
I hate it. I hate it so much. Game 6 is going on right now. The Rangers are up 4-2.
There we go.
I mean, Nathan Eovaldi started, so he's been their superstar, their ace.
Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, and actually the road team hasn't lost a game yet. The home team hasn't won a game in this series because the Rangers took 2 in Houston, and then the Astros just took 3 in Texas, in Arlington.
Wow.
And
And Texas took 2 in Baltimore too, so like they're crushing the road playoff percentages there.
Yeah, weird, but Texas holding on to a 4-2 lead, 8th inning. Let's go Rangers, please.
Yeah, for real. That validates my Orioles quick out.
Yeah. Monday,
and I know every Yankees
Exactly,
fan is an anti-Astros fan. I hear it from my brothers all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, well, for good reason. But the Astros, I mean, I can't, you can't call them cheaters, I guess, anymore. You can in the past tense, but I wouldn't be shocked if they weren't doing anything right now.
I bucket the Astros and the Yankees together, so
yeah, well,
I know, unpopular opinion.
yeah. Well, you're a clown.
We could put Michigan in there too now.
Yeah, we could.
Cheaters never win, Jim Harbaugh.
Well, I don't know if you had anything prepared, but like I said, we're not doing segments. But if you did have anything you wanted to close us out with, more than welcome.
Yeah, super stoked. College football playoff coming up soon. The resume for the Buckeyes looking pretty solid after beating Penn State. I know I was at your house the other day, not paying attention to the game on purpose because I was super nervous about it. I was like, I'm not going to put this on the radio, not on the TV. I checked the score. And of course, we were at the Penn State 6, and it was 10-6 at the half. But anywho, try to tell me that the Ohio State Buckeyes don't have the number one resume in football. Try to tell me that they don't deserve to be the number one team in college football right now, especially with the first college football playoff coming up. Beat Notre Dame, beat Penn State, and we're going to beat the shit out of Michigan because they're not going to be able to steal our signs again for the third straight year. So super excited about college football right now. Obviously, best team that I have going. So, yes. Yeah, thanks for giving me the floor on that one.
Typically the case.
It's pretty much usually the case. Yep. Well,
this Michigan thing, I mean, are they gonna see any repercussions this year or soon? Or
the NCAA is just such a sham. Dude, it's just such a sham. It's run by the schools. It's run by the conferences. They have no power anymore. But at the end of the day, at least we can see Jim Harbaugh is just not a quality head coach. And he just, at the end of the day, should be out as the head coach of Michigan. And we'll see what happens. But, in college, you don't have the, QB headset. You rely on signs from the sideline. So, he says he knew nothing about it, but that's Jim Harbaugh to just be an absolute clown and not cooperate with any investigation. He didn't do it last time. He was suspended this year for 3 games to start the season, and he should be fired. And you know what? At the end of the day, be hit with a show cause penalty, just like any other head coach has been who has to take the fall for something that they may or may not have known for. I don't know why we treat him differently. I have no idea why. There's a different expectation of him. I feel bad for his brother John. No, I feel bad for his brother John. His brother John is a great guy and a great head coach. And at the end of the day, this guy's just a clown. And, I obviously hate Michigan, but I just hate cheaters in general. And I hate people who game the system, and I hate people who take away from legitimate competition. So, it is what it is. I hope they're number 2 when we play them, and we're number 1, and we kick the crap out of them. But I could eat those words pretty quickly. Who knows?
You very well could.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm with you there. Well, we'll send everybody off with that. Really enjoy the end of this game. Dolphins are really good. I hate it. But the Eagles, it's going to be a tight one. 17-17 as we speak. Everybody enjoys the end there. Chris, always a pleasure. Have a good night.
See ya.